Hello class and welcome to our 11th lecture series on managerial accounting, and I'm your instructor Jamal Haither. So today we are starting a new chapter, activity-based costing. Before I start the chapter, I am going to upload the answer of our assignment 5. So let me upload that one and then we go through that. Yeah, I have just forwarded it, and you can just compare your answers over there. And if you still have any confusion, so please let me know. We will be discussing later. So let's start. So what is activity-based costing? So up till now we have discussed different costing methods, variable costing, relevant costing, uh, absorption costing. We talked about, but there's a new method. So in all those costing, we take one activity measure. Means, what do we mean by activity measure here? That if we want to find out the cost, what should be its denominator? And we just divide it on the basis of like units, on the basis of labor hours, on the basis of machine hours, right? So the concept of activity-based costing is that we divide every project or every making the product into different activities, and then we divided each activity according to their own denominator or according to their own allocation basis or activity basis, right? So this sounds a little bit very confusing and scary, because the ABC costing has its own terminology, like they call this activity base. In previously we call this allocation base, so they call it activity base. So you don't need to be worried about each method has its own pronunciation, its own jargons, own terminologies. So yes, you just need to familiarize with all the stuff. Otherwise this is very simple and it's easy to understand. So the activity based costing is designed to provide managers with cost information for strategic and other decisions that potentially affect capacity and therefore affect fixed as well as variable cost. So basically, ABC is a good supplement to our traditional system, right? So it is traditional system, yes, but one more, step ahead. So like in traditional system, we do not categorize in variable overhead or fixed overhead. Our overhead, manufacturing overhead is on total basis. We don't categorize it. So similarly here, we don't categorize it in the form of variable or fixed. So we just rather divide the activity into 4-5, or rather divide the whole process into different activities, and we divide each activity according to its own denominator, according to its own activity base, and we find out activity rate, and then we easily find out the product cost about is equal to all the activities. That's it. So let's just deep dive into. So our first learning objective is understand activity-based costing and how it differs from a traditional costing system. So in traditional costing system, we have manufacturing cost and we have non-manufacturing cost. So the traditional costing, so in traditional costing, in order to calculate the product cost, so let's do it on number one basis. So number one, ABC assigns both types of cost to the product. So in traditional costing, product cost is manufacturing cost, and manufacturing costs include direct material, direct labor, and manufacturing overhead. Sorry, my writing DM is direct material, direct labor, manufacturing overhead, and that is the product cost. But activity-based costing said no. In addition to manufacturing cost, there is a manufacturing cost that is included in product cost. So activity-based costing not only including direct material, direct labor, and manufacturing overhead, but also some of the non-manufacturing costs like selling and admin, and some of the selling and some of the admin expenses as well. Right? Second, ABC does not assign all manufacturing costs to the product. That is one more difference, is that the traditional cost allocate all the manufacturing cost as product cost, but ABC says some of the manufacturing cost, most of the manufacturing cost is included in ABC product cost, and also some of the non-manufacturing cost. So ABC product cost is equal to sum of the, or majority from manufacturing overhead plus minority from non-manufacturing overhead, right? So the ABC use more cost pools like traditional, costing. They use plant-wide overhead or departmental overhead rate. Like plant-wide, okay, labor hours that working on the plant, or machine hours working, in the plant. But ABC use more cost pools. They're going to be more cost. So we divided the whole process into different activities, and we gather all the cost pools and divide their cost pool according to their own activity basis. So each ABC cost pool has its own unique activity measure. While traditional costing system usually rely on volume measures such as direct labor hours, machine hours, based on overhead, we allocate that one to the product. So what do we mean by activity in activity-based costing? So it is an event that causes the consumption of overhead resources. Simple. While the activity cost pools, so it is the all the cost bucket, or the cost that is going to create the pool, in which all the costs that are related to single activity. So what does it mean? It means we create a pool of cost, so in which not only just one cost, there is a one cost pool, and from different areas different costs are coming inside. We'll talk about when we do some examples. So then I will be explaining over there what is activity and what is activity cost pool. And then activity measure, which is the cost driver. So the denominator basically in absorption costing, in plant wide over there, we talked about this as allocation base. So it is which, it is cost pool is going to be on numerator, and denominator is going to be activity measure. And how we measure this cost pool, from where it is coming from, and how much, or on which basis we need to divide this cost pool. So there are two types of activity measures. One is transaction driver and one is duration driver. So transaction driver is simply you count the number of times the activity, okay, we are going to divide this cost pool in 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, that's it, But duration driver, it is a measure of amount of times needed to activity. So it's the cost pool, it is for one time or it is for 2 times. So this whole cost driver is used for placing 2 orders, or we divide this all cost pool into one activity like customer satisfaction, that's it. We'll talk about over there. I would be explaining when we are doing the practical example. So then question arises, how costs are treated under activity-based costing. So how then they are different, and and how they are similar? So ABC defines 5 levels of activities that largely do not relate to the volume of units produced. In traditional costing, everything is related to volume, right? We produce 40,000 units, and what is the product cost? Is the sum of direct labor, direct material, and manufacturing overhead. While ABC says that, we produce 40,000 units, but we do not make 40,000 units at once. We categorize this 40,000 units cost into 5 levels of activities. We talk about in coming slides. So traditional cost system usually rely on volume measures such as direct labor hours to allocate all the costs to the product. So these are the activities, classification. So broadly, the activities are based, have a 5 levels. Number one, unit level, in which you have, okay, unit level. For example, okay, how many units are produced by this activity. Product level, how many products are going to be made, like product A, product B, right? For unit activity, 10,000, for example, 10,000 pens are made. Product level, how many are blue, how many are red, right? Two types of product. Customer level activity, whether these are transferred to 3 customers, 6 customers, major customers, right? Batch level, and how they are produced. Once only like blue are going to be produced, and then red is going to produce, or different combination, morning shift blue, evening shift red, this kind of stuff. And the last one is organizational sustainability, or organization sustaining activity, whether we are producing all these stuff to protect the environment, or to sustain the organizational activity with some donation. So this is normally, this is not given, but if it is given, it is not based